Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at the First Alert Desk. My name's Karli Barnett. We want to give you a look at some of the stories that we are following for your Sunday. We know many of you may be coming off of vacation and getting ready to start a new work week back, a new school week back. So we want to make sure that you have everything you need to know to be prepared to start your week right. In just a few minutes, we're going to have First Alert Meteorologist Cutter Martin joining us because we know that, like we said, many of you may have travel plans. You want to know what you can prepare for this week. So he's going to have that for you in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, we do want to share some of the stories that we are working on for your evening. As always, you can join us tonight at 10 and 11 on Peachtree TV and on CBS, or you can always stream us if you are watching online or through the app. So this first story that we want to focus on tonight, this is something that we have covered pretty extensively here at Atlanta News First. There is a vigil tonight for two children who were killed on this day last year in Midtown, right at the 17th Street Bridge. Now, this video is from that scene 1 year ago today, and there will be a vigil scheduled for around 6 p.m. That's what we're told. We have our reporter Brittany Ford who will be headed to that. But it's hard to believe it's already been a year ago today. You will remember it was just a couple of weeks ago that another suspect in this 2022 shooting near Atlantic Station agreed to a plea deal. That suspect, 17-year-old Michael Aziz, agreed to a deal that would see him sentenced to 10 years, and he must serve 5. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of causing another person to become a member of a street gang. The other 4 charges against Aziz were eventually dropped, but 5 people were arrested and face murder charges in this case. 12-year-old Zion Charles and 15-year-old Cameron Jackson were killed on the 17th Street Bridge on November 26th of 2022. The pair were among a group of teenagers who had been escorted off Atlantic Station property when shots were fired. Multiple other people were shot in that incident but survived. As far as those other arrests go, they are facing murder charges. Antonio Jackson, Tony Wilson, Demetrius Hill, DeAndre Forston, and DeRodney Russell. Now, at this point, it's not known if any deals were offered to them, but you will remember it was just the other week we reported 1 year later, the latest in this, that one suspect has agreed to a plea deal. So a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old lost their lives on this day last year. And that's what this vigil is going to be honoring tonight. They're going to honor the lives of 12-year-old Zion Charles and 15-year-old Cameron Jackson. So, sad news to have to report that even 1 year later, we are still talking about this. Families still hoping for justice, but hoping to honor their lives tonight and bring together people to remember them. The next thing that we want to prepare you for this week are the services honoring the life of former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. That will begin tomorrow until her funeral, ultimately on Wednesday. We want to be able to tell you what's going on, 1, if you would like to pay your respects, to share your condolences, and 2, just so you can be prepared because there will be some traffic as her motorcade travels here to the Atlanta area. You will remember it was 1 week ago that we reported Rosalynn Carter passed away at the age of 96 years old. So tomorrow, a motorcade is going to arrive at the hospital in Americus near Plains, and from there, past and present members of the Carter Secret Service detail will accompany her coffin to Georgia Southwestern University, where Rosalynn Carter went to college. There is then a wreath-laying ceremony planned, and following that ceremony, a motorcade will go to the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum here in Atlanta, where she will lie in repose. Then on Tuesday, Mrs. Carter's casket will be brought to the Glenn Memorial Church at Emory University for a private service there. Wednesday, her funeral will take place in Plains at the Maranatha Baptist Church. Now, that service is just for family and invited friends, Mrs. Carter will be laid to rest on the property of the home that she and President Carter have shared. Now, we here at Atlanta News First will be covering the services live on TV and on our ANF Plus live streams, which you can watch on our website, YouTube, Roku, Fire TV. Again, we will also be broadcasting this on air and online. If you would like to honor Rosalynn Carter in person, you can attend one of the public ceremonies or you can visit one of the motorcade routes. Again, tomorrow's motorcade is going to start in Plains and it ends at the Carter Presidential Center in Atlanta. If you go to atlantanewsfirst.com right now, if you go to our homepage, you can see the full route. If you go to this story, there's an area where you can click where you can see that map. And on Wednesday, the motorcade will start at Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains. It will go down Bond Street and then follow Highway 280. So again, if you are not able to pay your respects in person, we will have you covered here at Atlanta News First, covering the celebration of life services for Rosalynn Carter. And the third story that we want to bring you to is the fact that it is a busy travel day. We hope you had a very happy Thanksgiving with family and friends, and some of you may be traveling back home. Some of you may have loved ones that are traveling back home, and certainly Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport anticipated today to be a busy travel day, and they were certainly correct about that. All right, you can see those long lines this morning. As people were trying to go through security. The world's busiest airport certainly living up to its name as thousands pass through after Thanksgiving, hoping to return home before the work week begins again. TSA lines stretched long this morning, some wait times nearly reaching an hour. By 9 a.m., the airport had already screened 30,000 people. On social media, the airport said it expected 3.6 million passengers overall this holiday travel season. Pretty unbelievable. Now, last Wednesday, the airport actually saw its biggest morning rush in history ahead of the holiday, screening more than 32,000 people just before 8 a.m. The busiest travel day so far in 2023 was actually October 6th, though, when more than 100,500 people passed through the airport before school's fall break. And nationwide, TSA says it expects to screen more than 30 million people during the 12-day Thanksgiving holiday period. They're counting that from being Monday, November 17th to Tuesday, November 28th. And today, Sunday, they say could probably be the busiest travel day of them all. The airport's busiest times are expected to be pretty soon here from 5 to 9 p.m. We have our reporter, Yasmina Alston. She is headed to the airport now and will bring us the latest throughout the night. We're going to be keeping an eye on any canceled or delayed flights. But certainly if you are traveling, I would say go ahead and get there early as you can. And keep in mind the South Economy lot is closed. So if you have a friend or family member that can drop you off, if you can take a ride share, if you could take MARTA, those are all probably going to be your best bets. Also playing a factor, we certainly want to be paying attention to the weather. Let's go ahead and take a look outside. Looking a little cloudy out there. We've been seeing some pretty consistent rain really all throughout the day. So I'm going to pass things over now to First Alert Meteorologist Cutter Martin. He's going to give you the latest for you to be prepared to start your week.
Yeah, pretty gloomy out there for sure. Rain has been steady south of I-20, south of the city of Atlanta. A little spottier in town, but as the live image that Karli was just showing you really alludes to, it certainly is on the gloomy side out there. And I was just looking at radar off screen, and we still do have some rain to deal with. We're certainly not done with that yet, so just a heads up, remain aware that rain could possibly still impact your plans. So we're going to be watching that pretty closely here in the hours to come. Now, as we get into the latter half of the evening going into tonight, we will gradually dry out just a little bit. But a heads up, in the meantime, we are going to be tracking some pretty gloomy weather, chilly weather in the First Alert forecast as well. Again, outside right now, we're talking gloom, we're talking chilly temperatures. Here in just a moment, we're going to walk you through that complete First Alert forecast. Just going to load up our weather page here really quickly. In fact, we'll go ahead and bring you back to that live image while we load up the graphics right now. And again, overall conditions, cool, gloomy, chilly. I know my neighbors were putting out Christmas decorations yesterday into this morning, kind of ahead of the rain that they knew was coming. Must have gotten the first alert, right, knowing that there was going to be rain and some gloomier weather in the first alert forecast. Looks like they got it all done before the drizzle and the spotty, steady rain started. And a reminder, we still do have a little bit of rain to get through before we really see conditions improve across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta. So we're going to be watching this pretty closely here over the next couple of hours. I think by 8, 9 p.m., we're going to see spotty, steady rain kind of diminish down to really just patchy drizzle across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta. And that is as the big changes start to filter in. In fact, we can go ahead and bring up that hour-by-hour forecast for you. Temperatures already in the mid to upper 40s. And we're basically going to sit steady here for a few more moments. And then overnight tonight, as the sun angle gets lower, of course, we will begin to cool it back down. So we're not done as far as falling temperatures, but we're going to remain fairly steady for the next few hours. And then the noticeably colder air really does filter in as we get into late tonight into early tomorrow morning. Notice 1 a.m., 44, 5 a.m., breaking out of the clouds a little bit. It'll take some time. But down to 42, and notice that east-southeast wind all of a sudden becomes northwesterly and gusts greater than 10, sustained greater than 10 rather, with gusts up to about 30 miles an hour. So it certainly will be a day tomorrow of wind, a day of chill, but also a day with more sunshine back in the first alert forecast. In fact, we can go ahead and walk you hour by hour through the complete outlook. Let's bring it back to now. Forecast model doing a decent job with what is happening, kind of this last gasp of moisture moving through. We've had steady rain off and on all day long south of the city of Atlanta, but most of it has been south. But we're starting to see that rain fill back in on the north side of town on up into the mountains, so it's very possible, we could continue to see spotty, at least, light rain in the first alert forecast. And we'll be watching this here for the next several hours and then gradually decreasing. And here's that hour-by-hour forecast. Notice spotty rain in the picture through 10, 11 p.m., so it's not a completely dry evening, but eventually we will dry out. And by the time we get to tomorrow morning, out the door time, 6, 7, 8 a.m., this forecast model has a lot more sunshine, but I do think there will be at least some clouds out the door tomorrow morning, so just keep that in mind. Obviously, it's colder, 33 Blue Ridge, 41 Atlanta, 40 LaGrange, 42 in Eatonton, 39 Rome, 38 Dallas. Those are actual temperatures, factoring in the wind. It will feel like it's in the upper 20s and lower 30s. A cold start to the morning and a brisk afternoon. By noon, lunchtime, temperature struggling into the low to mid 40s, Metro Atlanta. Winds picking up even more by that point. If you have plans, if you work, if you have maybe a client meeting, lunch plans, Midtown, downtown Atlanta, Buckhead, winds will be especially gusty between those buildings. So a windy, sort of cold day, but also a mostly sunny day across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta. Warmest it'll get, about 50 degrees or so. We're going to struggle to get there, and that's in the city of Atlanta. Some will be cooler than that. Notice 45 LJ, 44 Blue Ridge, 48 Dallas, 48 Carrollton. That's at 3 p.m. 50 Griffin, 52 LaGrange. Chilly, but of course, the further south and east you go, the slightly warmer it will be. 54 in Eatonton, 55 in Washington. Not there long, though. By 7 p.m., temperatures already cratering back into the 30s and 40s. And as we go into Monday night, one thing that could save us, really a couple of things that could save us from a widespread freeze or as widespread of a freeze, and what may save Atlanta from officially reaching freezing Tuesday morning, those are these high clouds moving in. They'll help insulate the situation, the setup. So with clouds in play, where clouds are present, probably just above freezing, we also still have a breeze that's going to mix around the air and keep all of the, it's not a warm Monday afternoon, but whatever warmth we did get during the Monday afternoon period, it'll kind of help keep that from all escaping back up into space overnight. So close to freezing in Atlanta, points south, maybe not quite there, but many folks to the north, certainly the mountains, recording at least a light freeze. So some of our mountain communities could record a hard freeze Tuesday morning, and I think that setup for freezing conditions, an official freeze, will actually be even better for widespread freezing conditions as we get into our Wednesday morning. So just keep that in mind. It will be cold Tuesday morning, but especially Wednesday morning. That is when the setup will be ideal for a widespread freeze. And as I pull up that 7-day forecast, not only a widespread freeze, but, with a low and a low of 31 in the city of Atlanta, that would officially be the first freeze at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport so far this season. We've been as cold as 34, but forecasting a low of 31 Wednesday morning. A lot of folks, though, even Tuesday morning, beginning with freezing temperatures. Still chilly Thursday, probably frost, even in the city with a low of 38. Colder, of course, outlying. And then we are starting to warm back up a little bit Friday, though with clouds moving in, that may cap how warm we get, kind of put a pause on the warm-up, so to speak, with at least scattered showers in the forecast, maybe south, a rumble or two of thunder, perhaps that greater chance of rain and thunder Thursday or Friday night into Saturday. And Sunday could be a wet and cool day. Again, the timing of this rain is a little tricky, and the possibility of another wedge, that kind of dome of cool air that wedges in and down the Appalachians into North Georgia and Metro Atlanta, that has been in play this weekend, and with our next rounds of rain could again be in play next weekend. So fine-tuning a couple things with the forecast in regards to next weekend, the exact timing of the most widespread rain. This will probably be a setup that delivers a few different rounds of rain during that 72 to 96-hour period, but also what temperatures we'll be doing. There could be a range of numbers from near 70 LaGrange, 40s up in the mountains. Could be one of those weekends, at least from time to time. So we're going to be watching that here for you pretty closely, but just giving you the heads up, rain is on the way. We probably will need to first alert that extended portion of the forecast once we nail down the timing, the arrival and departure of these rounds of rain. In the meantime, though, sunshine, cold, classic weather for the first couple days, last few days, I should say, of November going into the first couple of December, with cold mornings, chilly afternoons, sunshine. Great for Christmas light looking if you're already in the mood or putting up those lights. Better weather after a dreary Sunday evening. Want to remind you we are back at 8 p.m. Karli, Barnett, and I with the news and weather. Another check of your First Alert forecast streaming on ANF Plus. Also 10 p.m. the First Alert forecast and latest news headlines on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate, and then we'll see you live back here at 11 p.m. on WANF, the late news. So stay with us. We'll keep you covered. And a reminder, you can always grab that forecast at atlantanewsfirst.com and in the First Alert weather app.